The consumers are inherently asking the same questions, whichever industry or whichever product you are selling. Do I trust this brand? Is the brand relevant for me? Does it makes my experience better?
With time, we often realize that consistency at a scale often beats the best strategies.
Competency gets you in the room, but character will determine whether people will trust you when things get difficult or not.
Marketing teams are the custodians of the brand, and they are the ones who keep the true sentiment of the consumer, the true need of the consumer at the heart without making any decisions.
So firstly, I would like to thank InsideIIM for giving us the opportunity to come here and speak to some of the brightest minds in the country. And secondly, congratulations to all of you guys for getting into some of your dream colleges. So big hands up to you guys. So for the fireside session, we have tried to keep the format very simple. We have a curated set of questions that we have already received from your side, and the team and all of us will be addressing the questions. What we will also do is we will try to depict what is the life of an ABGLP looks like. All of us have spent significant time in the group as well. I have spent 11, Mehak is spending 10, and
I've spent 7.
you have spent 7 already, wow. So we will be sharing our journey, we will be sharing our experiences with that, right? So before we start, I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Abhishek Srivastav. I joined in the batch of 2015. I currently head performance and rewards for the fashion and lifestyle business. I have now done 6 roles in the first 11 years, right? And that's kind of a thing that you will see common across everybody. And that is why we are so proud to be a part of the Aditya Birla Group leadership program. Because we get an opportunity to do different roles. And definitely in the conversations, we'll talk a little about the sort of roles that we have also done. I would request the other panelists to also introduce themselves. Mehak, if you want.
Thank you, Abhishek. Hi, everyone. This is Mehak. I've been part of this program for over 10 years now, like Abhishek said. I joined from IIM Lucknow in 2016, much like you guys. I had a couple of questions in my mind, and back then, Akhil, honestly, nobody answered. Nobody made an effort to call all of us and answer some of the questions we had in mind. There used to be a format for pre-placement talks, but that is putting just the best foot forward, right? But we did not have these candid conversations from the experienced people who have been part of this journey. So I think it's a great thing that the team at InsideIIM is putting up.
Thank you, Meg. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Dhanvanshu Pawar. I am the youngest amongst the lot. I've been in this group for 7 years now. Around 9 years back, I was sitting in this slot. I was a student over here. And I hope after a few years, some of you come back here and share your experience with the next set of MBA students. So I am the typical MBA candidate, a gem, general engineer male, coming in through an engineering background. I am from IIM Bangalore 2019 batch. And very recently, on Friday, I spent my last day at Hindalco. I'm now moving into a new role in Ultratech. This is my 6th business that I'm working over the 7 years that I've spent in the ABG group.
And then, Vanshu, actually, I had a linking question to what you were saying in your introduction. So you were there 7, 8 years back, right?
Yeah.
So why did you really apply for ABG, and what made you decide that you want to build your career here?
Very interesting. I think when we talk about general management in very general terms, the common answer that we get is the breadth of opportunities, but that you'll get along many other companies that come in the campus. But I think what made ABG special was that it's a very legacy business. And let me deep dive into 2 points. One, you feel that you're part of the history. Like I, coming from Hindalco, it was one of the companies that was set up during independence of India. So you're working for something which is much more meaningful. You get this sense of fulfillingness when you're working over there. And secondly, when it's a legacy business, the systems and processes are much more developed and evolved. So you can focus on getting the actual work done rather than spending time to build up something in new startups that are coming up. So that's why that was one of the criteria that I saw when choosing ABG. Only that stood out for me, apart from the many other reasons.
You have been beneficiary of this program and now have spent 11 years in Aditya Birla Group. I think you are the best person here to say how ABG or this program has helped shape your career, especially being part of this prestigious program at ABG.
So let me take a very raw and unfiltered view on this one, right? So I must say the ABGLP program has thrown me into situations which I was never ready for, right? If I look at my journey back, my first role was in Jayashree Textiles, where I was in charge for a greenfield project, and we were setting up, which was a linen spinning plant with 1,400 odd workmen. It was my first role. I had no experience of dealing with workmen at that point of time. And to set up India's largest linen spinning plant was an experience in itself. Even in my current role, if I look at it, I am the head of compensation benefits. And if you look at any head of compensation benefits guy outside, you will see that they would have grown in that area itself. But for me, this is my first role in compensation. So the company has taken a bet on me and directly given me a role of head of compensation benefits, despite not having any experiences in that. So I think these are the bets that the organization takes on us, and that is something that you really feel that if the organization is there to support you, you need to be there for the organization as well. So when it comes to also the people that you sort of work with, that is also a massive support. Till date, some of my best friends are the batchmates who joined with me back in 2015, right? So if Mehak, I have to answer to your question in one word, has the ABG program supported me? The answer is a definite yes. They have supported me. But they have not done it by making things easy for me. They have made it by actually making things difficult for me. But it has totally been worth it.
Yeah, I think like Abhishek, Mehak, you have also spent a lot of time in this group, from telecom to finance. How does this change your way and of problem solving? How do you perceive it now?
Then Anju, thank you. I get asked this question a lot. It's not just telecom, it's telecom, cement, fashion and retail, and now financial services. Everybody says, can she not just make up her mind where she wants to stay? What can we say? We like a challenge. And like Abhishek say, we get thrown a lot of challenges through our career journey. All you have to do is stay true to the opportunities that you have been given. And honestly, if I'll say, see, industries, categories, whatever we may want to call it, they look different on the surface. But the human behavior that is underneath is consistent across. Whatever we are trying to do at our jobs, the consumers are inherently asking the same questions, whichever industry or whichever product you are selling. Do I trust this brand? Is the brand relevant for me? Does it make my experience better? Does not matter which industry, category, function you belong to. All you're trying to do throughout is to define these motivators and trying to solve this problem for the consumer. And what a cross-industry exposure like this helps is avoid to get boxed into this thinking कि यहाँ पहले कैसे हुआ है? How have people solved this problem? How has this been done historically? What works best here? When you come from a different exposure, you think differently. You will ask questions like, okay, this is the problem. How has this been betterly done in some other industry? What are the capabilities that I can bring across and try to solve this problem in a better fashion? I think that, continuing to adapt, continuing to unlearn and relearn, and continuing to flex your problem-solving muscle is what a cross-industry exposure gives to you. And that is why I think now it's 1 year, almost 1.5 years into financial services, but I really don't know, maybe 2 years after you guys have spent your MBA, you are joining some of the businesses at Aditya Birla Group. I may be coming from a different business to welcome you all into ABG.
Dhanvanshu, I think your journey is also very similar to her, and now you are moving to a new business altogether. So what does ownership really mean? Because now you're getting into a startup kind of an organization. So what do you feel about it? Yeah.
So I'm sure some of you might have read in the news that Aditya Birla Group is also getting into wires and cables now. It's a completely different field for us. We have not ventured into it. We are going after legacy brands in the industry like Finolex, RR, etc. So it's a mini startup in a big conglomerate. And so I think ownership out here is building from the scratch the whole 0 to 1 journey that you're looking at. You yourself become a micro CEO over there. All of this comes with its own rewards. You own all of those rewards. or you face all of those consequences. So it's not a fancy PPT that you're delivering at the end of your project. It's an actual work that you're doing on ground. For me, that's what ownership is all about.
Talking about ownership, I think Abhishek here, head of compensation, all of you will be very, very interested to understand compensation. We already have questions around that. So you have been handling rewards and compensation at an enterprise level. What do you think is actually a highly driven performance culture at ABG? And please be honest, everybody is really keen to speak on that.
So I think when it comes to culture, there are a lot of buzzwords that you will see in a lot of decks that will go through in your placement docs as well, right? But to be honest, I don't think so that is how you should assess culture. My way of assessing culture is to look how leadership is operating when the decisions are very uncomfortable, right? I think that is how the real culture assessment happens. I'll tell you a story, Mehak. When I had joined Aditya Birla Group, this is back in 2016, I was sitting in a review. And I was the junior most person there. And this was a CEO review. He was taking a review for the entire HR function. And it was my first year. I had barely made 2 slides in it. The CEO looked towards me and he asked me, Abhishek, what do you think we should do here? I was taken aback. I would have said something at that point of time. But reflecting back, I realized that the organization expects me to develop a point of view on subjects. And that is a very big takeaway for me. And do organizations really do that is something that you should also consider when you are looking at the opportunities that are coming your way. The other thing is also the bar for performance really goes up and up here. I think in ABG, even in my current role, if I talk about it, I have businesses in different life stages. For example, I have Louis Philippe, Alan Solly, Peter England, Van Heusen, who have been there existent for 20 odd years, and they are growing at their rapid pace. At the same point of time, I have a startup which we are incubating called TMRW, which is into the D2C space. And also at the same point of time, we have integrated and merged with the likes of Sabyasachi and TCNS. Right? So if I have like a one frame in terms of how to look at compensation strategy, that would really not operate. And the organization is running at its own speed, and they want me to run at the same speed. If I don't do that, then it will not happen. It might feel like there is a lot of pressure. Yes, it is. But I think the best part about is with pressure, there is also ownership that is given to us. There's a lot of accountability and trust from my management that I get to take it. And what I love the most about our organization is even if some of the decisions go bad, my leadership doesn't say who is to be blamed here. They really say, what can we do next? And that really decides the organization culture. And it creates an environment of psychological safety, and people then tend to take more risk, and thus leading to high performance.
I think I completely resonate with your answer. And I think before we start opening questions to the audience, one last question for you, Mehak. I think I just read through your profile, digital marketing, like a very buzzword, and new startups coming into this space where visibility and speed is of much more importance. What did this teach you in ABG that you wouldn't have got anywhere else?
Startups do offer speed and agility, and whenever we say that traditional companies are, maybe not be able to do justice to this aspect of startups, but what is unique to a group like Aditya Birla Group is while you continue to experiment and build, it also comes in with a lot of learning and legacy of business leaders who have been there and developed a lot of businesses over the years. What comes with Aditya Birla Group is the mentoring and institutional learning, that these leaders who have built businesses over decades will provide you while you maintain the culture of a startup. And I think we were telling all the businesses that ABG is into, but if you realize in the last, I think, 3 years, we have been into 6 new businesses, 6 new startups, that is, whether it is jewelry, whether it is cosmetics, beauty, whether it is paints, whether it is hospitality. Uday had spoken about it. But in a company like this, you are getting to build something new, you're getting to learn, you're getting to fail fast, and also while in the shadow of leaders who will be there when you fail, who will be there to hold you and say, okay, this has not worked, but let's see what can we do better. So I think that's a culture that ABG builds in.
Thank you guys for hosting us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So let me start with a quick introduction. My name is Himant Golaveli. I've joined Aditya Birla Group in 2018, right after my MBA from IIM Lucknow. Across these 8 years in ABG, I've worked across 3 different businesses in 4 roles. In fact, I started with a high impact strategy project directly with the chairman's office. Post that, I had an international stint. I was working with Birla Carbon in USA in their Atlanta office. Came back to India, was put up in a very intense sales turnaround project with Pantaloons. Then I moved into a 0 to 1 kind of a role where I was setting up the branding and communications function for textile division in Grasim. It was a very interesting role and gave me a very different learning, and it was a very different journey. Then I moved to the world of fashion with Pantaloons, and in Pantaloons I worked across 3 different roles in the last 4 years. I started with business development, then went on to lead omni-channel and new stores, and now I head the retail ops for Pantaloons. So look forward to interacting with some of you during the high tea. But before that, we'll move to Yogesh, and we have some set of questions where we would share our own journeys and some insights that will be useful to all of you.
Thank you, Hemant. First of all, how's the Josh? How's the Josh? So I started off my career as an electrical and automation engineer in Nestle back in 2012. I worked in 2 factories for almost 4 years. Then I did my MBA from MDI Gurgaon in HR. Don't ask me why. Then incidentally, Hemant and I were interns, GIP interns. We joined Aditya Birla Group in 2017. So the journey goes back there. And then finally joined ABG in 2018. Now almost 8 years with 4 roles. Worked in a remote plant location and then worked in compensation and benefits. Now I am leading an HR integration piece for an international acquisition. So as we go by, we will share our journey. So maybe the first question would be to you, Hemant.
Sure.
From working in strategy to branding to now retail operations, what has been the biggest mindset shift change from thinking roles to execution roles?
Well, the thinking goes on, Yogesh. It's not like you stop thinking once you get into execution roles. It's not like that. But earlier, when I was in strategy roles, I used to spend a lot of time thinking about frameworks, consumer insights, market opportunities. In short, the focus was on what should be done and what is the right thing to do. And it used to stop there because the execution was a different game. But if I look at my movement into execution roles, like the one which I'm currently doing, my focus has shifted a lot. It gave me a very different muscle. I started focusing on how can things be done at scale, how can things be executed taking into consideration the practical constraints, the external challenges. And what happens is, as MBA grads from top-tier institutes, we're often wired or we're often trained to think that strategy has to be appreciated the most. And we are less often trained or we are less often made to think on how on-ground insights or cultural nuances or let's say external factors influence or change strategies. So in short, that has been my biggest shift. Over the last few years, I've started to appreciate the on-ground realities, the cultural nuances, and in fact, I'm a lot more sensitive on these aspects now versus earlier. One more important aspect is execution is a team game. So versus earlier, now I'm a lot more sensitive on thinking about how do I empower people, how do I empower teams who are there on the front end executing these aspects. Because with time, we often realize that consistency at a scale often beats the best strategies. So that has been my biggest shift in my own perspectives on the way to do business.
Fantastic answer, Hemant. Thank you.
So let's talk something about your own experiences, right? You have seen multiple facets in HR, rewards, compensation, industry relations, and now you're working on international HR integrations, right? So over this journey, what has been the environment that was toughest to deal with? And taking that into consideration, what were your learnings on people and leadership?
So honestly, it will be very difficult for me to point to one of the toughest environments because each role I have worked in has presented its own set of unique challenges and learnings. So what Aditya Birla Group leadership program has shaped in me is the ability to connect across the spectrum, be it having, grounded conversations with a contract labor at a remote plant location to presenting ideas to the managing director of Hindalco. right? So maybe instead of choosing one situation, what I'll do is what has actually helped me over the last few years, in navigating tough environments, I will share that. So I'll cover this answer in 3 parts. Number 1, there is a concept from the book called Speed of Trust that has stayed with me. That says character plus competence is equal to trust. I'll repeat. Character plus competence is equal to trust. So most of you know that competency is what? Your knowledge, skills, your capability, the results you deliver. And, character is your intent, the integrity you have, the authenticity. In tough and high pressure situations, during union negotiations, when you are having performance and compensation conversations, discussions, and be it international integration discussions as well, competency gets you in the room. But character will determine whether people will trust you when things get difficult or not. So, mind you, both are equally important, right? So, whenever there is trust, conversations become easier, conflicts become manageable, and outcomes become sustainable. So, that was number 1. Number 2 is, one big enabler has been the international exposure that I have got. I have traveled to almost 20 plus countries now, mostly as part of my student exchange program when I was in MDI. With ABG, I've had the opportunity to work in Thailand for almost 4 months, attend a global HR summit at Singapore, and recently I traveled to US for a couple of weeks for the M&A integration piece. And let me say this, it's a fantastic feeling when you get paid to travel. But beyond the excitement of travel, what it really gives you is perspective, right? Because then you start noticing how people across different cultures think differently, how meetings are running differently across different time zones, how infrastructure behaves, structures behavior, right? And how, sensitivity to context becomes critical. And that is very obvious for us Indians. When we come back, right, we compare what we do better or what we can learn from others. And this ability, to understand and appreciate multiple perspectives is actually will make you a balanced and an effective leader, right? So, because in this, geopolitical world and the way things are happening in the world, right, and especially in global organization, there is rarely a single right way of doing things. There are only contextually better ways. So that was number 2. And number 3 would be, how do you simplify complex things? As leaders, it's a very important ability that you need to have, because you need to provide clarity to the down below, right? To the level below. And see, it is very simple, to sound complex, but rather it's very difficult to simplify things. One who knows or has deep expertise in a particular domain will only be able to actually, explain things to you. So that was my 3-part answer, but just because I think Mary shared a couple of questions, Akhila also touched about, the kind of answers you want to touch upon is on careers, on summer placements. So maybe I'll share a bit on that also. I'll take maybe 30-40 seconds on that. So I was recently listening to Ajay Banga, who is leading World Bank now. Incidentally, he also started his career with Nestle. Now he worked with the likes of PepsiCo, Citibank, MasterCard. What he said resonated with me. He said that don't overplan your career. Take risk, stay open, right? Learn new different things. So that's why I emphasize that you should focus on building experiences. Focus more on building experiences rather than resumes, right? You should move roles and geographies. You would have heard, all of us by now, how it helps, right? So that is important. Don't be an armchair critic. You are part of the system. You have to resolve it, right? Try new things. Do things differently. So that was another one. And last piece, I'll share something which is very personal. When I joined MDI in 2016, I thought I was very well prepared. Entered into a top tier institute, having prior work ex, I'm all set. But the first week itself was a shock. Sleep dropped from 7 hours to 3 to 4 hours, right? And then the summer placements came. What that taught me was a very important thing, that pressure doesn't break you. it reveals you. And it is important that you seek for help. You know, talk to your friends, talk to your mentors, you know, improve yourself. Don't go into the comparison mode, right? So asking for help will not make you weak. Rather, it will make you more self-aware and strong, right? So as you guys join your MBA in the next few months, you will feel stressed. You will definitely face uncertainty, and you may doubt yourself at times, you know, but the growth doesn't happen like this. It happens when, you know, you navigate through the unknown with the belief in yourself.
I think a lot of important messages have gain diverse perspectives, right? Which you guys talked about. Seek out support when required. I think that will really help you, move over the first 6 months of your MBA journey. Good one, Yogesh.
So Hemant, I was reflecting on your answers, which I asked you, the earlier question. So now, see, retail operations is totally a different ball game, right? It's a real time and a high pressure situation. So how have your earlier ABGLP experiences, you know, taught you so that you were ready for this role of this scale?
So often what happens is in high pressure situations, the decision making is instinctive, right? And these instincts for each one of us are shaped by the experiences we go through in the early stage of our careers. Uh, and when I say instincts, it can be as simple as how do you react in a high pressure situation? How do you make a decision when you do not have all the information at your disposal, right? This is what I mean when I say instincts. So if I reflect and go back to the kind of roles, the kind of stints I did as a part of my early ABGLP journey, I was most often put up in a lot of ambiguous situations. And these were very high impact projects, meaning I had to display a very strong accountability, and I had to showcase a very deep result-oriented approach, right? And also what happens is when you move across businesses, across functions early in your career, qualities like agility or collaboration, they become your surviving skills, right? You learn to adapt quickly, you learn to collaborate with diverse teams, you learn to collaborate with cross-functional teams, you learn to make decisions even when you do not have all the information that you need at your disposal. These qualities like agility, collaboration, being result-oriented, I think they, of course, as an outcome of my early experience as a part of ABGLP, have shaped my own instincts. And when today, when I move into a high-intensity, high-scale role like this, where my decisions impact 400 stores across 190 cities and more than 9,000 people, right? These instincts are what that influence my decisions, right? And these decisions are often connected back to being driving them with the right intent. So that's how I would sum up how my experiences have really helped me out.
Great, Hemant. You know, mind you, retail is a very different landscape. It's very competitive, right? The complexity goes to the next level. The number of stores you have, the new players that are emerging, you know, the pressure from the market. So I think great insights from Hemant. Thank you.
Great, Yogesh. I think we'll then open the forum for some questions from all of you.
Hi, I'm Aditya. I had a question that when we talk about digital marketing, how all the bigger brands are actually dependent on agencies to get their campaigns executed and look at the larger realm of things. But I see a lot of brands now also developing in-house capabilities, where rather than being dependent on agencies to churn out their own social media content or looking at anything else, they want to now go ahead and have their own team. Is that the case with ABG also, or are you all still like collaborating equally with agencies out there, be it digital or mainline?
There will not be a one single answer to this. I have worked in marketing throughout my career, whether it is branding, whether it's digital, whether it is strategy, retail. And I have worked with 30 agencies at one time. Yeah, like you said, whether it is media, it's performance, it's SEO, it's social, it's UI, lot of things. Then people ask, what is the role of marketing teams? Why do we have marketing teams if we have to work with agencies all the while? I think what I've learned, and I can say with utmost confidence and pride, is that marketing teams are the custodians of the brand. And they are the ones who keep the true sentiment of the consumer, the true need of the consumer at the heart. without making any decisions. You can rely on agencies for the groundwork. You can rely on agencies because they are specialists. You cannot be a specialist for everything. You may have certain capabilities you will develop over time, but like in today's world, when the world is moving so fast, you cannot have a graphic designer, a AI specialist, a copywriter, a creative person, all of them in one team, right? So you may have to depend on specialists, but at the end of the day, what is important for your business, what is important for your customer, the marketing team is the custodians, and hence the onus lies on you. So there will always be a mix. Wherever you need a specialist opinion, like for example media, कितने लोगों को पता है कि अभी टीवी स्पॉट्स कैसे बाय करने हैं? Not everybody, but there are teams who will know it better. But at the end of the day, which is important for your brand, which channels you want to be present in, which time zones you want to be present in, all of this depends on the marketing teams.
Hi, my name is Sahil. I'm going to join IIM Lucknow. I had a question specifically for Dhanvanshu and Abhishek. Both of you mentioned that during your time at ABG, you had multiple stints, especially Dhanvanshu, you said you have had 6 stints in 7 years. What I wanted to know is how do you find the balance between exploring new opportunities and also getting executional depth? Because I'm assuming that when you are in a new business, a business cycle might take about 3 years or so. So how do you manage to do that in a short amount of time? And at the same time also explore new opportunities?
So I think it's a very interesting question. And my simple funda for this would be that you have a particular learning curve. And when you start seeing that learning curve fatten over a period of time is when you start exploring new opportunities. As you said, we also need to look at the impact of the project and the work that you're working on and move it to a completion. So Yogesh is working on a particular acquisition. That acquisition earlier was handled by us. I was the program manager over there. And now when it is at the finish line, it's going to be taken ahead into the integration into our systems. So that's where Yogesh's role come in. So there is a sweet spot that you need to identify where you think I have learned enough and at the same time I've delivered enough and created value into the system, and that is the time when you start thinking and moving on. Abhishek, if you want to add anything more.
Yeah, I'll totally agree with Dhanvanshu here. And taking a very HR take to this also. So what we have done is we have looked at organization, how they operate, what is the learning curve. So roughly the first 6 months into any role for you is going to be a learning journey. You will start learning. And the next 1.5 years is when you actually deliver. After that, basically the learning curve is going to stop. While you will have not seen the impact of some of the initiatives that you have done, but from a learning point of view, how we have designed the careers for ABGLP as well, the idea is to learn more in the initial period. As you grow and get into senior roles, the time will increase. So it would, if we were to sit again 10 years later, probably we would not have done another 6 roles in the next 10 years. Yeah. But I think both Dhanvanshu and me will believe that these 6 roles in the 7 year for him and in the 10 years for me have actually added a lot of value. For me, all the 6 roles were in different domains of HR as well. Right from talent acquisition to industrial relations to compensation to generalist HR as well. So I think that has added a lot of perspective for me as well when I get into bigger senior roles.
Also circle back to what Uday mentioned. You cannot be indispensable in your role and expect to move to the other roles, right? Parallelly, you will have to build your own competence in what can be done next. And at the same time, you need to empower people around you in the team, in the business to take over probably what you have built, right? That makes it seamless and the transition happens that way.
Hello sir, my name is Piyush Sharma. I'm joining in MNMS HR. My question is specifically to Yogesh sir. This is about HR. So we talk about traditional HR and strategic HR. Since we have already talked about AI being tech being integrated in all the processes. So the traditional HR works, which were the administrative tasks, will be taken care of with the AI help or the technical help. So now what is the focus of HR in the industry? How is it going to change? And a person like me who is going to start a career in HR, what he should be looking at specifically rather than being in the traditional, rather than looking at the traditional sets of work which HR used to do and moving on the strategic parts of it.
I think just 2 days ago, I think there was, I'm not sure, International HR Day, and my friend had written a long post on HR that sometimes HR get mocked, up to rangoli maker hai. Isn't it? See, I see people laughing. So see, the point is there are a lot of things which HR do, right? So whenever we talk about strategy, see, everyone wants to do strategy. You know, when I also gave my interview, they said, "Why do you want to? You are an engineer. Why do you? I want to do strategy." But strategy is actually you do for say 5% of the time of your entire, normal day-to-day job, and that's once or twice in a year. But right from hiring the right people, what is the business model? What kind of people you need? What kind of talent development is required? Right? What kind of policies you have? The way the things are changing, you cannot run with your old policies, right? And when Hemant asked me about a digital tool, we had archaic HR tools where all the managers will go and they will see previous historical data. They will depend on HR. Now all our managers are digital savvy. Everything is provided in a very transparent manner to them. They go, they just whatever inputs they have to give, they give, and in 5 minutes everything is done. Earlier it used to take 1, 2, 3 days, right? So there are still many things. In fact, this gives you an opportunity and more bandwidth to connect with people, right? Understand the softer part of it. So that is where I believe HR will come in. And I also mentioned in my answer that it is your responsibility first to update yourself, be abreast of the new technologies that are coming in, and understand the patterns, connect the dots, how things are happening, right? 5 years ago, I needed this person. Now the job is not there. How do I retrain my workforce, right? So that would be my answer. Thank you.
Also, I'll just add one point, right? It's an integral part. HR is an integral part of business, and I'll give you my own example, right? 10 to 15% of my time I spend with my retail HR head to ensure what are the requirements of my workforce, right? How do we make them more capable? What kind of policies should we change? Because when organizations are big, right? If I take the example of Pantaloons, it's there in 190 cities. We have more than 10,000 workforce working in the stores, right? There are cultural nuances, regional nuances, there are policies, government regulations, norms, n number of things, right? When you want to run such a big organizations, you need to have policies, guidelines, procedures in place. How will you define those procedures, guidelines, taking into consideration n number of variables across these geographies, right? That's where HR plays a very important role. It's about keeping everything intact. So even for people who are into driving business, into driving large-scale businesses, it's a very integral part, and you cannot avoid it. You have to work closely to ensure that you're driving a lot of KPIs.